is made, elders are instructed to call the Bethel, the organization's headquarters, and asked to speak to the legal department for advice. The policy says that people shouldn't be discouraged from reporting abuse to the authorities, yet there is no direct instruction to do so. One section says people may choose to report the matter. In some countries, such as the UK, this isn't illegal. There's currently no legislation here for the mandatory reporting of allegations of child sex abuse.
I was treated just the same as any disfellowshipped person, and so I became a pariah in the eyes of the community, really. And subsequently, all of my prior friends, which is a lifetime of friends, had nothing to do with me. And at that particular time, pretty much all of my family as well, because all my extended family were Jehovah's Witnesses also.
Back in Scotland, Ross Blackman is telling me what happened when he decided to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses after he started to doubt the theology of the organisation. Because you wanted to leave, that meant everyone that you had associated with, family, friends, other members of the congregation, didn't want to have anything to do with you?
That's exactly the case, yes, exactly the case. And as you can probably imagine from a social perspective, even that's very, very difficult. It's something that's very difficult to bear. Even though I'd anticipated that that would be the way I would be treated, to actually come face to face with that kind of treatment is a real shock to the system. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. It does affect you quite deeply.
You're looking a little upset, if you don't mind me saying. Just the memory of it is still pretty upsetting.
Yes, I mean, here we are 15 years later, and talking about that particular facet of life is deeply hurting and hurtful. I don't suppose there's any way it could be otherwise, really. To have that sense of loss, that amount of loss, is a bereavement, a huge bereavement of a tragic scale for an individual.
Where are we now, Ross?
Yes, we're now still in Hamilton, the other end of the town this time, though, and we're going to visit a friend of mine, Nick French. Hi Nick, how you doing?
I'm not bad, thanks.
Nick and Ross are two of the people who run an online support group for people in the UK who have left the Jehovah's Witnesses.
We have around about 600 members, and it's a very active group. There are people that are posting almost on an hourly basis, whether they're offering support or giving support, and it really does operate 24 hours a day.
Just give us an idea of the type of issues people are dealing with.
Well, some of the issues will be to do with the fact that people are finding it difficult with the shunning aspect. There will be other people who are finding that they need support because of being survivors of child sexual abuse. Or it could be that people are maybe asking about different doctrinal issues. Maybe if there's a thunderstorm, a lot of people will come online because it's brought back memories of being told that Armageddon is near.
Just explain that to me. A thunderstorm can be upsetting to people who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Ross, you're nodding.
A leaflet that I'm sure Nick will remember from the 80s, which had the word Armageddon emblazoned over it and lightning strikes all over it. And we were raised with that. And this idea of an impending doom was very much part and parcel of what we were raised with. And we would have seen images like that every week of life.
The Jehovah's Witnesses say anyone has the right to leave the organisation, but it does mean that your family and friends will not be allowed to associate with you. This happened to Nick after his stepdad was sent to prison for abusing him, and Nick decided to cut his ties with the church.
The family that I have that are Jehovah's Witnesses, I have no relationship with at all.
And how did they convey that that was going to happen to you?
I had an email from my mum when she found out that I was no longer a Jehovah's Witness to say that this would be the last communication that we have. And I do not have any more communication from her.
Did she feel any sorrow or any regret about the abuse that you experienced?
She did, thankfully, and she was a witness in the case against my abuser. However, since the case, I have had no contact from her.
It sounds particularly cruel that when people need that love and that support from their family, at such desperately difficult times, that's when families walk away.
It's almost like a double whammy when you're really needing that help and that support, which you do on an ongoing basis. Naturally, the first people that you would turn to are those closest to you, those that you grew up with, your blood relation. But they're just not there, they're not available.
12 individuals listened to the story of my life that, I hadn't told many people. And they proved them guilty.
In 2011, Candace Conti took the Jehovah's Witnesses to court. In California, a judge awarded her a $28 million verdict after it was shown that the organization told no one that her abuser had a previous conviction for child abuse.
Child abuse is not an epidemic. It's a pandemic. It's everywhere. So what can we do to bring the transparency to these organizations to achieve a goal of protecting children? But it's also kind of opened the door for what reforms can we go into now? What can we do now?
People listening to this who may have their own experiences and may be contemplating going to authorities when the stakes appear from the inside to be so high, what's your advice to people?
Be strong and have courage. It's terrible what happened to you. It's terrible. But think about the children that don't have protection, because you lived through it. So be strong and have courage and try to stand up. And it's tough. It's hard. But the only way that we're going to get change is if you have a voice. So have a voice.
Witness Protection was produced and presented by me, David Cook, for Heart and Soul from the BBC World Service.
You're with the BBC World Service. Before the news, we get creative.
I'm looking at this